welcome back. We're talking about the New York Giants and taking a quick little peek back of the 2023 season, where I'm just going to call battered and blue for the big blue. We all felt confidently that when you guys went to the playoffs with Daniel Jones and Barkley, mainly Daniel Jones was the big focal point. You beat the Vikings, but we all knew the Vikings were a bunch of big fat phonies, big fat phonies. And now we thought this year, with the Dallas and Philadelphia, we're thinking it's going to be a three-man race. Oh, here we go. Washington to the back. Oh, here we go. And then you guys are out by week 6. The race was so far ahead of you that even if the rabbit were to take a nap, you still wouldn't come back and win the race. I'm sorry, guys. Honestly, it was more about the deal. It was more of the Italian mobster, number 15, Blue. He was the guy. He was the one. He was the big focal point. And at some point, you guys were getting some wins here and there. And some of it was just, we won. We play? Oh, them. Yeah, I'm not talking about that. There was a small snippet that you could have snuck into the playoffs as a 7 seed, but, capiche, Tabasco sauce and ranch dripping on a cigar, fake Italian accent. It was bad. It was just bad. Really bad all the way around. I personally thought the Giants were not going to make the playoffs. I did have them like an 8-9 idea. I thought they were going to be 500, but I thought Philadelphia and Dallas were going to take 4 wins away from them, and therefore that would have put them out. And it was kind of like that. Kinda. I mean, they went 6-11. Sadly, they've been worse, but I thought they would be single digit. I didn't expect them to be that bad. But when Daniel Jones and the quarterback situation after that, and then Barkley was almost a ghost, I just felt that okay, so we have nothing for the Giants. But there were times where I felt like the Giants' defense was going to do something, but nothing happened. So the Giants, there's a lot of big question marks, and I think a lot of people are talking about now that Barkley's Philadelphia, which that just feels like, oh, fudge. So with the Giants, what happens to the Giants now? Giants is a team that it's kind of hard to make any type of criticism when you realize they lost their quarterback by the perimeter of the quarter mark of the season. So he's like, okay, so the quarterback play can't be an argument because they really lost their quarterback. Even though there was like a lot of new quarterbacks trying out this season. I mean, the receiving core wasn't that good. Let me check defense. Defense was all right. I mean, yeah. There's nothing here, guys. There's nothing here. Their best game was Week 14 versus Green Bay. 24-22. That was the best game, and honestly, it's because it's the only game that felt like you beat Green Bay, a Green Bay team that was on the rise, that were getting momentum. They were going to try to get into the playoff, and this was a big derailment of their plan. But then Green Bay had such a successful season that at least Giants fans can be like, hey, we beat the Green Bay team that beat the Cowboy team that beat us by like 80-10 in 2 combined games. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but it pretty much was. He lost 40-0 in week 1 against the Cowboys. And you guys were at home. 40-0. That should have been an obvious omen for the entire season. So looking at your best game, you beat the Cardinals. I personally don't like to use the first 4 games of a season to say that's your best game unless you won one game in one of those weeks. Then I have no choice but to put it there, because I feel like since players are not playing preseason games as much or at all, I always feel like the first 4 weeks are literally the preseason. Yes, they might win or lose, but I feel like if a team goes even 1-3, he was like, well, the chance of them making the playoff is like 10%, and then 14 4-leaf clovers and a final lucky charm. I feel like with 17 game and now they're pushing 18 game, which I'm about to say player safety. I can't help but feel that the first 4 games, I mean, if you lose the first 4 games, you're 0-4. you still got 13 games left. And with a 7 seed now available, it doesn't feel like a stretch anymore. It doesn't feel like a stretch anymore to get into the playoffs as a 9-win team, or in some cases an 8-win team. So I usually use the first four games I always exclude on it. So after that, you beat the Commanders 14-7. Okay. You beat the Commanders again, 31-19. You want me to beat? No, okay. You beat the Patriots 10-7. You beat Green Bay 24-22. Okay. And then you beat Philadelphia, who rested their players. Green Bay was the only game that mattered. They had the momentum. They had the drive. DeVito was still the guy. You know, they were still memeing him forever. So, yeah. Your best game is basically by default. I'm sorry, that's your best game. You beat a Green Bay Packers team, and at time it felt like you guys were just saying, "Forget it. Let's go for it. Let's just be aggressive," and you guys did. So congrats to you. Now, what makes it easier? What's your worst game? Well, the worst game is definitely against Dallas, and since I exclude the first 4 weeks, it's obviously going to be Week 10 at Dallas. So, another game that we all can agree was just a slobber knocker. 72 points. So I said 80, but 72 points. Actually, no, hold on. Dallas go 49, 40. 89 points to 17. Dallas outscored the Giants this year. It was 28-0 at halftime. It was 42-7 going into the fourth quarter. Now, I didn't expect you guys to beat Dallas. Honestly, nowadays, I feel like putting Giants and Dallas on primetime slots just feels like an insult to the fan base. Because, yes, I know it's New York and Dallas and it's marketing offices and sports. I get that. But it really just feels like, come watch the Dallas win. We're just going to see how it happens. It's like watching a slasher movie. We know Jason Voorhees is going to kill people, but how is he going to kill people? So watching the Giants versus Dallas is, we know Dallas is going to win, but how? Is Dak Prescott going to throw for 5 touchdowns and 300 yards? Is the defense going to force 7 turnovers and score all the points? Are there going to be like 3, blocked field goal return for touchdown? Like, how's it going to happen? We know Dallas is going to win, but how? That's the more interesting story, because there are reporters and journalists and commentators just ready for the next day to be like, okay, Prescott had... Okay, we can't talk about Prescott. We can talk about the defense. We can do the press conference with Jerry Jones, and we can make fun of the New York Giant fans. Okay, so those are our topics for the next week, and we talk about them in a game that we all just feel like, why? Why do we talk about the Giants losing to Dallas again? Because of the New York market? I think the New York market has enough on its plate, and they have 2 teams in that market to deal with. So, yeah, your worst game is pretty much against Dallas, just so having me not the first one. 49-17. You tried. Now, your MVP. This was a fun one for me. Who is considered your MVP? Now, initially, I was going to say somebody else, but I feel like because of the impact it's having, it made me feel like, wow, he's a little bit more important than I thought he would. And he nearly had 1,000 yards rushing this year, too. So, Saquon Barkley is the Giants' MVP for the fact that he was the only offensive weapon that scared any opponent, even Dallas, anywhere. So, yeah, no quarterback play consistency. Receiving core was a miss because of that. Defense at times showed shine, but to me, the team that made the biggest impact was Barkley, because when he went to Philadelphia, that became more of the story, that he's going to a division foe in Philadelphia than, say, he went to Kansas City or Baltimore, some other AFC team. No, he literally went next door and literally went there, and you saw him taking off his Giant jersey, throwing it in the trash, and put on a brand new Philadelphia Eagle jersey, and was like, "Howdy, neighbor! We're gonna be neighbors." So to me, Barkley is definitely MVP. He had more impact off the field with the status of the Giants. So to me, Barkley was MVP. He was the reason why you guys had any form of intimidation, anybody. Overall grade, a D. A D. You lost your quarterback. Defense was spark sometimes. There was nothing there. And the wins you got were like, you really want to brag about that win? We beat New England 10-7. You know New England's picking 3rd overall, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then now you're. It feels like you guys are worse. You guys were so high the last year, the year before, when you beat Minnesota, and you got Daniel Jones the contract, and then Barkley. You kind of went the ringer with Barkley by saying that he's warranted, he's valuable, but not in a weird way. Almost feel like you're gaslighting the poor dude. And now he's here, and now he's gone. So it feels a little bit like Odell Beckham thing. We got Odell, we have a contract. Go to Cleveland. So to me, D Giants, you get a D. I mean, Daniel Jones is going to lost your quarterback in the quarter of the season. So that's why I cannot bash you that bad. Now, if Daniel Jones played majority of the game, then of course I'll bash you, probably keep an F. But the Giants were bad. And it's funny, they were bad like the year before they went on to the playoffs. So terrible, great, terrible. And I feel like you have less pieces this time around. And what are you going to do in the draft? I do not know. Receiver. But then again, I'm like, receiver for the quarterback you still like. Okay. Not my choice. But the NFC East is going to be a 2-man race, right? So you're pretty much just fighting for place. Okay. Just want to hope you guys are aware of that. And that's the New York Giants. Boy, that was a difficult video to do. It's hard to talk about a team that is just so bad and you're just trying to find a positive spin without making it sound like you're just blowing smoke up people's ass. So, now we have one more team left, and that is the Washington Commanders, who are picking 2nd overall. And they're getting a quarterback, but we don't know which. The sad thing is, the Commanders still have a new team that I didn't have time to buy a new hat. So next video is going to be fun when I have no real Washington Commanders hat. But don't worry, I have found a way. So until then, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you very much for watching.